Hi guys, so this is my second part of the wisdom of the Native Americans, and part one of it's just the ways of the Native Americans, and section one is the ways of the land. So I'm going to start with a quote from Chief Seattle that says, "All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the children of the earth." As I was talking from my last video segment, the question I left with everybody with was, what do we want our children to inherit on this earth? What do we want for them? A good earth that is still beautiful and green, or one that's nothing but pavement and cold and lifeless? So, oh, by the way, Chief Seattle was Squamish and Duwamish tribe. So this part, I'm just going to give some quotes from very famous Native Americans, some not so famous that you may never have heard of before. But it all has to do with the ways of the land, how we should treat the land, how we should respect it. So that's what I'm going to do, and it's going to be just a couple of little quotes here and there. I was born in nature's wide domain. The trees were all that sheltered my infant limbs, the blue heavens all that covered me. I am one of nature's children. I have always admired her. She shall be my glory, her features, her robes, and the wreath about her brow, the seasons, her stately oaks and the evergreen, her hair, ringlets over the earth, all contribute to my enduring love of her. And wherever I see her, emotions of pleasure roll in my breast and swell and burst like waves on the shores of the ocean, in prayer and praise to him who has placed me in her hand. It is thought great to be born in palaces, surrounded with wealth, but to be born in nature's wide domain is greater still. I would much more glory in this birthplace, with the broad canopy of heaven above me, and the giant arms of the forest trees for my shelter, than to be born in palaces of marble, studded with pillars of gold. Nature will be nature still, while palaces shall decay and fall in ruins. Yes, Niagara will be Niagara 1,000 years from now. The rainbow, a wreath over her brow, shall continue as long as the sun and the flowing of the river, while the work of art, however carefully protected and preserved, shall fade and crumble into dust. George Copeway. Kagagaboa, Ojibwa. And like I said, to any of the tribes out there, if I mispronounce anything, please let me know. I don't want to insult anyone by mispronouncing languages that I'm not 100% fluent in. Some of them I am, some of them I'm not. So I apologize if I mispronounce any of the names. What is a man without the beasts? If all the beasts were gone, men would die from great loneliness of spirit. For whatever happens to the beasts also happens to man. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the children of the earth. Chief Seattle, Squamish and Duwamish. I love that land of winding waters more than all the rest of the world. A man who would not love his father's grave is worse than the wild animal. Chief Joseph Nez Perce. The character of the Indian's emotions left little room in his heart for antagonism toward his fellow creatures. For the Lakota, one of the three branches of the Sioux Nation, mountains, lakes, rivers, springs, valleys, and woods were all finished beauty. Winds, rain, snow, sunshine, day, night, and change of seasons were endlessly fascinating. Birds, insects, and animals filled the world with knowledge that defied the comprehension of man. The Lakota was a true naturalist, a lover of nature. He loved the earth and all things of the earth, and the attachment grew with age. The old people came literally to love the soil, and they sat or reclined on the ground with the feeling of being close to a mothering power. It was good for the skin to touch the earth, and the old people liked to remove their moccasins and walk with bare feet on the sacred earth. Their teepees were built upon the earth, and their altars were made of the earth. The birds that flew in the air came to rest upon the earth, and it was the final abiding place of all things that lived and grew. The soil was soothing, strengthening, cleansing, and healing. This is why the old Indian still sits upon the earth instead of propping himself up and away from its life-giving forces. For him, to sit or lie upon the ground is to be able to think more deeply and to feel more keenly. He can see more clearly into the mysteries of life and come closer in kinship to other lives about him. Chief Luther Standing Bear, Teton Sioux. You asked me to plow the ground. Shall I take a knife and tear my mother's bosom? Then when I die, she will not take me to her bosom to rest. You asked me to dig for stones. Shall I dig under her skin for her bones? Then when I die, I cannot enter her body to be born again. You asked me to cut grass and make hay and sell it, and be rich like white men. But how dare I cut my mother's hair? I want my people to stay with me here. All the dead men will come to life again. Their spirits will come to their bodies again. We must wait here in the homes of our fathers and be ready to meet them in the bosom of our mother. Wovoka, Paiute. Great Spirit, I want no blood upon my land to stain the grass. I want it all clear and pure, and I wish it so, that all who go through among my people may find it peaceful when they come, and leave peacefully when they go. 10 Bears, Yamparika, Comanche. I love the land and the buffalo and will not part with it. I want the children raised as I was. I don't want to settle. I love to roam over the prairies. There, I feel free and happy. But when we settle down, we grow pale and die. Satanta, Kiowa Chief. So then I'll move on to part 2 of the ways of the Native Americans, the ways of words and silence, which is also an important background subject to this whole entire thing. So, for all my subscribers, Brandon, who's my only one right now, but hopefully we'll get more, keep watching and keep listening, because all of this is so important. All these quotes are meant to give us a lesson in the way that we should be towards the earth, towards each other, that we are still a brotherhood among men. We all bleed red. We are all the same, but all beautifully different at the same time. And instead of hating those differences, we need to embrace them. Embrace each other. Embrace love, not hate. Peace out. Eho.